You're live.
It's early.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the fourth day of the court hearings. We are up at the butt crack of dawn, actually before dawn at this point here in DC to cover this case for you guys. We're going to be bouncing between feeds of multiple different journalists that are either have access to the CVP, which is a cloud video platform. We may even have a couple drop in with us just to chit chat for a little bit about all this. But we did have, and this is coming from the at DEA campaign's Twitter. This was about a minute ago. They said breaking. Julian Assange's court hearing at the Old Bailey today is postponed pending a COVID-19 test result of the husband of one of the U.S. lawyers. A case management hearing, however, will start shortly. Updates to follow. So we did a quick catch-up video last night going over the first 3 days of the hearing as it had been so far. We've heard from, I believe it's 5 different witnesses across the 3 days of the hearing so far. Maybe 4 different witnesses because Mark Feldstein had to come back on the second day because apparently the UK court doesn't know how to handle technical issues properly to make sure that the literal largest trial of free speech can be broadcast properly. We have 3 at this point call to actions up right now. We have the Reporters Without Borders coordinated campaign that we're doing to contact congressional candidates. Probably at some point I have to add today's new candidates in there. It'll probably be Green Party members as well as West Coast Libertarians. So I look forward to that. We also have the essentially what we're calling the second warning, which is basically telling the UK courts maintain your cloud video platform and then open it up to NGOs. For those of you who don't know, non-governmental organizations as well as members of UK Parliament, there was about 40 people that on the first day of the hearings got thrown off of the cloud video platform because apparently Vanessa Baraitster is the person who gets to determine who gets to watch the cloud video feed. So we have a call to action up for that. So that way we can make sure NGOs can try to get in there. But also, if you're ambitious, go ahead and just demand that the public has a link because that's something that I think is personally vital and should be happening right now.
It's absolute bullshit that there isn't a dedicated, YouTube channel or internet radio frequency or even like live television feed of this. One more time, it is the biggest press freedom trial of our lifetimes, and there is zero coverage. I had a call yesterday from Garland Nixon, and he was inviting me to come on to his radio show and give a breakdown of what's going on here. And when I was live on the air with him while we were
Could barely hear you, Steve.
Really? God damn it. How about this?
Better.
Okay, so it's like 5:20 in the morning and our neighbors already hate us, so I'm trying to be nice here.
I don't know if it's picking up that microphone.
It should be. It should definitely.
It is when he's closer. It's fine when he's closer to it.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm trying not to get us at any rate. I lost my fucking train of thought.
It's 5 o'clock in the morning.
It is early.
Garland Nixon,
while I was on his radio show, like in real time, was looking at CNN's newsfeed on their website. CNN's website has 0 stories up this week about Julian Assange's hearing, which is fitting because our action for today is a march from CNN to Google to Fox News.
Hey, Josh, real quick, is there any way you can change the thumbnail? Because it's still stuck on a day 9 image.
I do not. I have no way to do that.
Oh, my God. I'm going to have to. I need a laptop.
Okay.
Because you can't switch it from a phone.
We do it live.
I'll try to get Kimber to change that thumbnail forever.
It'll be a minute.
Yeah, I know. A couple more weeks we'll be able to get off day 9.
No, I mean, it'll be a minute to fire up my laptop. This is dead air. This is like bad dead air.
This is bad dead air.
It's like 2:30 at night on the West Coast. You're okay. Or 2:30 in the morning, I guess.
I don't want to let
technically.
down all 6 of our viewers.
I got 7.
Oh damn!
I'm one of them though. So
DEA campaign actually just put up the same thing that we're doing now. I don't know if they had that on the previous days.
What?
The live court coverage.
Oh, I don't know. I don't. At any rate, it doesn't look like there's going to be much of a hearing today. They are going to do a case management hearing. It's now confirmed through multiple people who have been allowed to have access to the. So we're just going to kind of roll with it here and see what goes down. I am going to go ahead and send a link to Kevin Gustola because he expressed interest in coming on today. And pretty much every time that we do this, which is going to make this particular live stream entirely unique in, I guess, both regular and independent media, because we will basically be the only people with eyes on the ground who are
Covering the court case.
like giving people a place to come live to actually discuss what's going on and have some analysis tossed down in there, even though we're probably both going to be like in and out a little bit. Gotta get Kendra to the airport tomorrow and all that kind of stuff. I'm awake. I am.
Totally.
Do some talky, Audrey.
Let me check to see if there's any updates about this yet. See if we have anything coming through. We could read through Kevin Gustola's little update out yesterday, though. So Kevin Gustola says, yesterday the legal team called Paul Rogers, a peace studies professor at Bradford University, to testify on how the prosecution has targeted Julian Assange for his political opinions. One of the political opinions highlighted, if wars can be started by lies, peace can be started by truth. And then Kevin provides a little bit of a breakdown here. On August 8th, 2011, speaking at the Stop the War Coalition rally at Trafalgar Square, Assange stated, "We must form our own networks of strength and moral value, which can challenge those strengths and self-interest values of warmongers in this country and in others. We have formed hand in hand an alliance to take money from the United States, from every NATO country, from Australia, launder it through Afghanistan, launder it through Iraq, launder it through Somalia, launder it through Yemen, launder it through Pakistan, and wash the money in the people's blood." He refers to the information we have revealed, showing that everyday squalor and barbarity of war. Information such as individual deaths, over 300,000 people in Iraq, individual deaths were kept secret by the U.S. military, who denied that they have counted the deaths of the civilians. Instead, I want to tell you what I think is the way that wars come to be, and that wars can be undone. It should lead us also to understand, because if wars can be started by lies, peace can be started by truth. And then the good Kevin continues. Also on day 3, defense witness Trevor Trim called attention to the New York Times Washington bureau chief Max Frankel, declared about one role of the secrets in his affidavit to federal court in the Pentagon Papers case. This was actually a little update from Tuesday where The defense was able to get the judge to allow them to introduce the Pentagon Papers and surrounding information and legal precedents and all that into the court. So it was a pretty big development there on day 2 when that happened. And that's just off the top of my head, I believe that's when that got entered in there. Then Kevin continues. Trim emphasized the section on good reporters, who Frankel referred to in the defense publication of the Pentagon Papers. I think it may be fair to say if Assange had been a good reporter, like most U.S. journalists, especially in Washington, there would be no Assange case.
Fair point.
This is the coin of our business, and this is reading from, I believe, those Pentagon Papers or that court proceeding. This is the coin of our business and of the officials with whom we regularly deal. In almost every case, it is secret information, and much of the time it is top secret. But a good reporter in Washington, as Saigon, or at the United Nations, gains access to such information and such sources because they wish to use him for loyal purposes of government, while he wishes to use them to learn what he can in service of his readers. Learning always to trust each other in some extent, and never to trust each other fully, for the purposes are often contradictory and downright antagonistic. The reporter and the official trespass regularly, customarily, easily, and unselfconsciously, even unconsciously, through what they both know to be official secrets. The reporter knows always to protect his sources, and it is expected to protect military secrets about troop movements and the like. He also learned to cross-check his information and to nurse it until an insight or a story has turned trip. The official knows if he wishes to preserve the valuable channel and outlet to protect his credibility and the deeper purpose that he is trying to serve. Kevin Gastola posted, there's a report circulating, husband of one of the U.S. lawyers has come down with COVID-like symptoms, and it suggests proceedings may not be in session today. A court representative has communicated no such info to the press. Okay. So Kevin clarified that based on the DEA tweet. He continues, appears to be confirmed COVID-19 has brought the trial portion of Julian's extradition hearing to a temporary halt. For the first time in these proceedings, I see defense attorney Mark Summers wearing a mask. I do not see any mask wearing by prosecutors or defense attorneys while inside the courtroom during the first 3 days, particularly while court was in session. This is why the cloud video platform for remote access is so crucial to the Assange case in the time of COVID. It remains appalling that over 40 observers, many of whom attended the proceedings in February, had their remote access revoked by the judge. It was never safe for the press to attend in person. It isn't safe for 40 observers at the Old Bailey courthouse, and let's continue this to Julian Assange, who has been denied bail during a global pandemic. He should be at home. He should be on home confinement and not in Belmarsh prison. Overheard in court, Judge Braister is consulting the Recorder of London, Senior Circuit Judge, Central Court, Old Bailey, on what to do next. So I think it's kind of a travesty. Why would the husband even be with her in the UK? If everything is so at risk and such a great thing, why isn't this lawyer forced into self-isolation during this whole 3-week process? I think it's bullshit personally. I think it's just a great excuse to get out of doing court. But that's just me. I also think the COVID restrictions that are set up on the court are bullshit. There should be a limit to free association, and people should be allowed to take their own calculated risks. Because I know many of the journalists out there would be in court today if there wasn't seating restrictions, regardless of COVID-19. So I think that that's a bunch of malarkey, I guess would be the nice way to word it. But we're going to be waiting on some more updates here. So I'm going to hop over to see what Mo has to say right now, because I know he had his thread going already too. He actually started his out with a van with blacked out windows arrives to the side entrance of the Old Bailey, likely transporting a prisoner or prisoners to court. It appears that the court hearing was set to start at 10 a.m., but will rather start at 10:30, as we were previously led to believe. So Mo's thread continues. Supporters are discussing the ability to hang Julian Assange's banners. We are just following an order. The banners cannot be placed, said one security officer. We've just told them this. One of the other tells me when I ask, referring to the officers. My question to the security officer, a separate security officer now said that the banner can be hung on the barrier as long as it says nothing offensive. I don't know much about UK's speech laws, but I don't think they're allowed to determine what is or isn't offensive. I'm pretty sure they're just allowed to let people speak as long as it's not provoking violence. So that's pretty interesting that it doesn't really appear that these people even know their own fucking laws, which isn't a surprise for most beat cops. Especially with someone as blatant as tasked with making sure people are not unruly during Julian's trial. So let's see if the DEA campaign has any updates out right now. Not to be super cynical or nothing, Steve, but it's pretty bullshit that the one day we got up early, they just happened to have COVID.
Gustola has a post up right now saying that for the first time, one of the prosecutors is walking around in court with a mask on.
Yep.
And that is so emblematic of a U.S. reaction to a problem. Like, okay, so somebody's testing positive for symptoms, which means they've already contracted this, potentially already contracted this thing. So after it's too late, that's when we're going to take the preventative measures. Which is beautiful. It is a nice little metaphor there.
Well, see, here's what better not fucking happen. They better not have Julian sitting inside of a glass box with a goddamn mask on, because wearing a mask and recirculating your own air that your body is trying to expel generates infection because you can't breathe out your germs and breathe in clean air. I don't know if people know that. So it can actually be more detrimental to people with lung conditions to recirculate. So I just hope that there's actually some logic behind what the courts decide to do with all this. Because at this point, it's just show trial on top of show trial on top of pandemic.
Can we get early morning / late night thoughts from Sleepy Josh on this case so far?
It's a fucking cartoon, man. Like, just the fact that they cut off all the NGOs is. I mean, how many people are actually being able to get live information now because of this shit? It's like a small handful of people. It's bullshit.
What's crazy to me is the way that, like, not just network media, but to a large extent, independent media is ignoring the fuck out of this.
It's worrisome, to say the least.
So, just heard from Kevin Gustola. He's going to do a little bit more He's gonna hang out in the video feed for a little bit longer, trying to figure out what's going on with court. He'll probably be stopping in here fairly soon. It'll be nice to have someone on who's as fucking out of it and sleepy as I am. I'm fucking not operating on all cylinders yet.
That's what coffee's for.
Plugging the coffee pot in right out here on the table. That's probably not a bad idea. No.
I used to have one at my desk years ago. It was great.
Andrew is the reason we're gonna get kicked out of this Airbnb. No, so check it out. Like in the middle of our live stream last night, one of the neighbor lady came out, like stared at us while we're doing the live stream, goes back inside. I get a text from the people who own the Airbnb about 20 minutes later saying, hey, one of our neighbors said that you were leaving furniture outside and it's raining, so this is what you need to do, blah, 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 blah. And so I sent him a text back going, oh, that's our table, but good looking out. Thanks. We like the place. Hope you're having a good day. And now it's just fuck with the neighbors. Like, we're not going to do anything that's going to get us thrown out or arrested, but I'm all for pushing the boundaries on what's acceptable in their eyes. Let's go ahead and find that line and just sort of run right up to it and come do a skit.
Fun times.
Like one of Ben Balderson's.
Kevin just put out an update and said there's no members from the U.S. prosecution team, at least that I can see in the courtroom, only the Assange legal team. And then he followed it up with, we now have James Lewis, lead prosecutor, joining the court remotely. James Lewis left his computer charger in the courtroom. He says it's about 2 meters from Edward Fitzgerald, and he is afraid it will die. I'm just saying that. Q. I guess there doesn't get to be a lead prosecutor in court today because he didn't show the fuck up. Continue with court proceedings. If a lead defender wasn't there, they would continue with court proceedings. They wouldn't give a fuck. This shouldn't affect it. If this person can't come here for court and it's his fucking job, either throw the goddamn case out or continue with the proceedings. If he forgot his laptop charger, seems like he's not very fucking responsible. Just like when they couldn't show up on God.
You guys keep cutting out.
Sorry.
What?
I think
cut out.
Cutting out. Basically, lead prosecutor Lewis is saying that he needs someone to run him his phone charger or his computer charger, essentially.
We live in a cartoon.
Yeah. So continue with court. Fuck that guy. If he can't show up, fuck that guy. Let's see. I'm in my flat, Lewis adds, in London. He couldn't get home. He couldn't get home last night. By the way, someone
too much
told
cocaine and whiskey.
Right. So here's the thing. How the fuck can a group of activists that have been going 23 hours, well, we'll say 22 to 20, just being fair, hours a day, be able to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to cover this? And someone whose fucking job it is for a goddamn living can't do it. And then they're saying COVID-19 because fucking Lewis oversleeps.
You know, because somebody's wife's sister's cousins,
that's
best friend's college roommate.
That's a convenient excuse that like someone got impacted by a virus that killed less than 10,000 people in the United States and has a statistically irrelevant morbidity rate. But
May the Schwartz be with you.
Yep. And this is kind of a travesty of what we've seen about independent media not pushing back about the COVID-19 restrictions, especially in this court case, because they haven't even talked about it. The fact that people can't even attend this court case. So there's a thread up where someone has been helping me out with this. But if you could, members of the wonderful audience, go through your YouTube feeds, your Twitter feeds, and figure out who isn't covering Julian's trial breathlessly. We don't have a big platform. We have at most 100 people that watch our show on a good day. Why is it that people that get 8,000, 10,000, 1,200
783,000
followers don't actually do shit like this? And it's a fucking travesty because they love to talk for a living and they fucking paid for it. We're out here at 5 o'clock in the morning. We have an action to get to at noon, and we're covering this case. While these people whose job it is, who you pay with your goddamn donation money, Patreon, Rockfin, what have you, to cover this, aren't doing it. And we have over 2 weeks left of this. So start demanding that every one of these motherfuckers that you watch in independent media wakes up and finds a way to go live with this. Because all of them have done it. They can all do live streams, but apparently none of them care enough to do a live stream to cover this court case.
Secular Talk, for example, I'm looking at it right now, 879K subscribers. One post about Julian Assange on Monday, 7 minutes and 54 seconds. And I'm pretty sure that at least a minute and a half is Kyle telling people where they can donate to him. And that's like it. So you're teaching like 900,000 people how to ignore the biggest press freedom trial.
Well, you have to remember he's with TYT, and
Yeah.
TYT, regardless of Kyle Kulinski's position, are Russiagators. They received millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of dollars from a direct DNC donor. It's not a surprise. It's not a surprise at all.
Kulinski makes like 15 grand a month on his Patreon alone. He's fine. He's bougie.
Right.
He's bougie just like the rest.
Mm-hmm. It's sad to see these people just sell the fuck out. Like, go to Humanist Report, see if they've covered anything. Go to Rebel HQ, see if they've covered anything. Go to TYT's homepage, see if they've covered anything. That'll probably be part of our call to action later this week, probably over the weekend, is to just get people fucking shaming these guys because it's their goddamn job to do news. And when you have people that are still constantly putting out videos about Kamala Harris. Sorry. I'm being too loud. Anyways, I'll stop ranting about that.
No, it's just like we're subject to noise ordinances, and we're not guests here. We're tenants who can be removed at any possible time, and we already have a neighbor complaining about us. So I'm all for going right up to that edge and like pushing on it a little bit, but only with that particular set of neighbors, not the rest of the neighbors around us who have been perfectly lovely. CIA agent with a leaf blower notwithstanding.
Yeah, because everyone does contractor work on Sundays.
Look, man, I've done a lot of landscaping before in my day, and never once have I ever tried to start a job at like the hottest part of the day on the Sunday before Labor Day. Big fun.
So Mo put some more out. Where we last left off with Mo, he was outside of the court where the officers were giving people a hard time putting up their banners, which they had done pretty much every day before this for the court trial. But one of the officers did allow them to put it on. Mo pops in with, whilst the video feed started at 10:30, the court remains largely empty as Ed Fitzgerald QC, with Ed Fitzgerald QC, some discussion and the word COVID-19 has been mentioned. James Lewis QC, barrister for the prosecution, is now speaking via video link. The charger for his laptop is about 2 meters from Mr. Fitzgerald, and it is about to run out of battery in 31 minutes. So I wonder if I should just sign off and try to conserve my battery here as well, or come back. Joel Smith, also with the prosecution, also via video link, says he will phone him. Court officers say they are just waiting for Mr. Assange to make it to the courtroom. Mr. Lewis says he couldn't get to his home, so he's currently in his flat in London. The clerk of the barrister's chamber is running to the court to pick up the laptop charging cable. How old is this guy?
Lewis?
Yeah. Do you think we could do anything to get Lewis thrown off this case for being a shitheel?
If we can't get Lady Arbuthnot removed, we can't do much about an individual minor. Like, we have demonstrable, clear-cut conflicts of interest with Lady Arbuthnot. James Lewis is just a pompous ass. I'm pretty sure being a pompous ass is a prerequisite for a degree in becoming a barrister or a QC. Like, even Joe Loria is giving begrudging respect to this dude Lewis. So for him to just sort of fucking phone it in like this, literally phone it in like this. Like, it's not like he didn't get it. It's not like he didn't know. Yeah, I guess so.
So I can switch this fucking image.
It's not like James Lewis didn't get a phone call when he was out at the pub last night saying, "Oh, it looks like so and so might be coming down with COVID. We might be fucked off for court tomorrow."
Let's try this in reverse order. Lewis was out at the pub last night, got fucking wrecked, couldn't make it back to his house, and was like, "Oh, COVID-19 hangover."
Well, his excuse is that he left his charger in the courtroom the previous day, right?
I mean, that's really unfortunate. I guess they should just proceed without him, because that's what they would do to the defense.
No, I agree. I do.
Like, if you can't make it and you're not grown up enough to self-isolate, then
Lewis isn't the COVID one, though. Like, you gotta straighten out the story here. Did you read this out already? This bit?
I don't know where I left off with Kevin Gostola. Let me check.
I just want to highlight.
I don't think it would hurt to go over it again.
I want to highlight what the good Kevin is saying in regard to this morning's fuckery. He says this is why the cloud video platform for remote access is so crucial to the Assange case in the time of COVID. It remains appalling that 40 observers, many of whom had attended proceedings in February, had their remote access revoked by the judge. It was never safe for press to attend in person. It isn't safe for 40 people to go to the Old Bailey courthouse. And let's continue this to Julian Assange, who was denied bail during a global pandemic. He should be in home confinement and not in Belmarsh prison. And then his next update 3 minutes later is overheard in court. Judge Baratzer is consulting the Recorder of London, Senior Circuit Judge of Central Criminal Court, on what to do next.
Proceed.
So Baratzer, not necessarily certain of how court works in her own courtroom. That's comforting.
Well, she's certain that non-governmental organizations and parliamentarians concerned about the case can't watch. That's clear. So she knows how it works in that respect.
Oh, bless you, kiddo. 49 seconds ago, Kevin Gostola looking forward to the courtroom sketch of Assange in a glass box with only the judge in the room as we all proceed virtually. That'll be quite appropriate. That'll be quite the appropriate image for this case. That will be. It's just Julian there in the fucking goldfish bowl with the concierge for the U.S. State Department and a laptop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because again, I'd like to repeat that if it was the defense that had some reason why they couldn't be there, which they wouldn't, because the defense aren't pieces of shit, they'd proceed. If the defense was like, "Oh, I forgot my laptop charger. I got fucking hammered last night. Can't make it to court this morning. I couldn't even figure out how to get back to my house, so I slept in some fucking flat." They'd proceed. So the fact that they're putting up a charade about, "Oh, we can't do court. We can't do," it's fucking stupid. Sorry, I'm trying to get an image here because this is killing me.
Andrew's grumpy in the morning.
I am.
I don't know if you guys have noticed. Or not.
We have that in common, Andrew.
I know. That's why I try not to talk to you when I first wake up until after you first wake up, and like give it like 40 minutes each.
Yeah, that's wise.
Good time.
Andrew learned something about waking people up yesterday.
No, that wasn't yesterday. That was
Yeah, it was yesterday.
no.
That was.
No, that was Tuesday.
Was it?
Yeah, when I banged on Kimber's door, and she got mad.
He cop knocked.
Oh,
Black the fuck out. Cop knocked.
Jesus Christ.
To wake up Mean Panda. Like, she didn't get the nickname Mean Panda because she was all fucking puppies and smiles, you know.
So Kevin Gastola put out some more
Cop
tweets.
knocking motherfucker. I kick your ass.
Prosecutor Joel Smith is trying to get Judge Bracer's attention to inform her that we cannot hear anything in court. And Lewis says his screen for the court is frozen. He can neither see nor hear the court. The court can hear Smith. Well, it kind of sucks, huh? Because we've been trying for the last fucking week to make sure this shit can work properly. So it's pretty funny that now it's the prosecution that's having issues, and now I'm sure it will be a problem.
Well, I guess to her credit, the last line of that tweet is Baratzer will continue because he can hear court. So she's willing to carry on the proceedings regardless of whether or not he can participate. Hopefully, she carries over the personality that she's been displaying with Julian to QC Lewis, because this really is kind
His
of fucking
fucking
his
fault.
fault. So if she wants to be the absolute authority in her courtroom, she needs to go ahead and teach this motherfucker a lesson.
Well, we know she's not. We know she's not the absolute authority. She's a joke. She's a judge who takes every single cue from the prosecution. The State Department is her daddy, so to speak. So I think I'm glad that they're proceeding, but with this judge literally just reading pre-prepared statements all day, every day, right? Like bail was denied to a pre-prepared statement months ago, right? Everything that the defense brings forward gets countered by a pre-prepared statement. In my opinion, most likely written with coordination between the State Department and the UK justice system itself. I did get the thumbnail updated finally though. So I'll give you
excellent.
you're on the A4A YouTube channel on there though.
Okay.
So you'll have to switch out. Let's see what Mo has, because I think Mo is actually out front right now. Yep, Mo says judge at the end of the court, but
Fucking got like coffee or some shit on my lap.
it's probably the sweat from the water bottle.
Now my mouse doesn't work.
What?
Now my mouse doesn't work. I gotta let that dry out. Thanks, buddy.
My bad.
Fucking drop of water over there. God damn it.
damn it, Andrew. So in was updates the same. Judges entered the court, but neither we nor the lawyers for the prosecution, who are sitting in court via video link, can hear the court. Apparently, the court cannot hear the lawyers, but nobody on the video link can hear. But nobody on the video link can hear the court. Mr. Lewis cannot see them either. You know, this would be a lot easier for people to hear and see if there was, you know, some kind of like public live video platform, like, I don't know, like YouTube or Twitch or Periscope, where they could put the court proceedings so that way people can watch it.
That's just crazy talk, you fucking commie.
I know. We haven't even invented those things yet. Let's see what the DEA campaign is putting out right now. Nothing that Kevin and Mo haven't already said. Who else should we check in on?
Kostakidis. I don't think you even have to try and spell Kostakidis. I think you can get to Mary and KOS and it should load up.
I'm glad you saved me on that one.
Yeah. I don't know how to spell Kostakidis, and I can.
I do. It's Kostakidis.
That's what I said.
Kostakidis.
Kostakidis.
So let me see. I'm going to go back up to the top of Mary's. Do you want to read through the whole thing with hers, or do you want to just...
No, man, because we already know what's going on.
That's fair. Her most recent tweet says, all you can see is the back of Mr. Fitzgerald frozen.
Looks like this needs to come up just a little bit.
Lewis apparently claims that it's not possible for him to cross-examine on video link. Well, I guess you should wake up on time, boy.
Maybe if you were more responsible with your computer equipment, this wouldn't be a problem.
Right. Like, if I can get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, you can get up way later because it's not 5 o'clock in the morning there right now.
My alarm went off at like 10 after 4, and I had every intention of getting up. I did.
No, my body reached its like 4.5 hour mark, and I woke up 20 minutes before my alarm. And then I just wandered around the house trying to figure out what I should do.
See, that's what sucked. I woke up like an hour and a half before my alarm, and I was like, I can do this. I can fall back asleep and wake up just fine.
So I'm not watching chat all that close, but let me pull it up real quick. So I'd like to see if you guys have any questions or anything like that. So let's see where we are at.
So just to update you guys of what we're going to be up to today, again, we're going to, actually 2 things are going to happen today. The A4A March is from noon to 4 in downtown DC. So if anybody that is watching right now is in the DC area, please come down and join us.
We'll be at the CNN building to start off at probably about noon to 1.
And the march will go from CNN to the building where Google is located here in DC to the Fox News building. And it will wrap up in front of Fox News. At the same time, me and our other co-host that's here with us, Kendra Christian, are going to go into Baltimore to hang out with Reverend Annie for a little bit and help her pass out some food. I was not going to get on an airplane back to California without giving Reverend Annie Chambers a hug. So that's going to happen, and we'll be able to make it back here to DC for most of today's action. Tar Alm in my chat. Excuse my ignorance, but would you please give us a summary of what's going on with the Assange court case? Sure, I would be happy to. And I would also recommend, Tar, that you,
Watch the video
you're-
from last night.
if you're on Twitter and you want live updates, the Don't Extradite Assange campaign has a great feed. Kevin Gostola has a great feed. Mary Kostakidis, Juan Passarelli, who else? Mohammed Almazi, Tarek Haddad. All these, there are a number of people who have good live updates.
So real quick, because
Sorry. If you want a thorough summary of what's happened up to this point, we did a live stream last night where we recapped days 1 and 2 and covered day 3 in detail. Kevin Gostola on Shadowproof's YouTube has like 14 to 18 minute recaps for each day.
Taylor Hudak went on Get Your News On with Ron yesterday
Oh yeah.
and did a good recap from a starting point before the court trial until what's happening now. I love Ron Placone. I got shot by a grenade while I was wearing a shirt at a protest before, so that's super. That's like a bonding moment for me. But I'm kind of disappointed, honestly, that people haven't been, in general, keeping better track of this trial, because it's a lot. It's a lot to go through every single time. But the travesty is people's audiences aren't aware of what's happening, and it's because the content creators themselves haven't been following this case. And it's sad because it is the biggest news. Politics is a charade. Left-right paradigm doesn't really matter. Joe Biden's going to die and Kamala Harris is going to take over to be the president if he gets elected. Spoiler alert. Sorry, Trump wins. It's sad that the state of independent media right now would rather hype about that than actually bring you coverage of the largest court case in human history in at least the last 50 years, if not longer.
And thanks, Beth, in my chat for pointing this out.
I
As
had
of-
Mary Kostakidis' tweet up. I was going to say that. But
Yeah, court is adjourned until 10 a.m. Monday, pending COVID-19 tests. Eric Lewis will be defense witness on Monday, so it'll be Lewis versus Lewis. If it becomes clear that the test is positive, judge requires submissions from both parties on how to move forward.
this is bullshit. This is absolute bullshit. The prosecution should basically be thrown out of court and they should say proceed. I'm sorry. It's 6 a.m. I think I'm allowed to be loud now. Oh, that's not fair. But either way, it seems like a really convenient excuse because we know Lewis was completely unprepared today. Court should have proceeded. Court should have been started already. People have the right to personal risk. There's a video link available. 10 a.m. to 7 a.m. There's no excuse. Court should have started half an hour ago. If the defense or if the prosecution wasn't properly self-isolating to prevent against a disease that's killed a statistically irrelevant number of people, that's their problem. They should say, okay, well, you're going to have to bring in a different lawyer. Like I don't know. I'm just circle talking.
Well, okay, this is interesting though. From the DEA campaign, prosecution asked the judge to put a restriction on the press from reporting the name of the junior prosecutor who has been potentially exposed to COVID-19. However, the name has already been said in court and the judge refused. So at least there's a little bit of consistency in the overall maliciousness in the character of Judge Vanessa Baraitser. Because recall that the only reason we know Stella Morris's name is because they had to hold a court hearing as to whether or not the press had the privilege to out her. And she had to take away that power from the UK's like tabloid media, and went ahead and sat down and gave an interview the weekend before the hearing that would determine whether or not the press was able to report on
I
who
believe
she
her
was.
name is Miss Dobbins.
Sure.
Dobbins.
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 Yeah.
They said, firstly, we shouldn't really be hearing today. COVID-19 would be here in the courtroom. Second, there are members of our team who are high risk. Finally, our client, Mr. Assange, whose vulnerabilities you are aware of, we could attempt to continue via remote hearing, but you have made the decision some time ago that Mr. Assange would need to be present for us to be trying to conduct in a remote way. We submit it would not be fair. Really, it would be impossible to go ahead until we know the result. Mr. Lewis agrees if we adjourn until Monday to know whether or not the test is positive. To try and do something tomorrow afternoon would be highly inaudible for a number of reasons. Inaudible is in brackets. Judge adjourns court until Monday. The judge asks for the good sense of the press not to report the name of the afflicted individual. The name of the inflicted individual, again, is Miss Dobbins. And your husband shouldn't fucking be there. Why do you get to be by your fucking family when Julian Assange has been in isolation for over 3,500 days? He's been in Belmarsh prison for 518 days today. Why do you get to be by your husband? Why shouldn't there be a court mandate that tells you to be in complete, total self-isolation? I don't get it. I really don't. I don't get how these prosecutors can get away with literally causing the delays in court and there's no repercussion. And all that happens is the process continues to punish Julian Assange. Sorry, there's a truck. So because of the irresponsibility of the prosecution, court can't happen today. At the same time, this is the first day that there are 2 live feeds to cover the court trial at 5 o'clock in the morning. Mr. Lewis did not have his shit together. Couldn't even get back to his house. The only times I've been able to not get back to my house is when I've been too fucked up to get there. And I don't really see this guy as someone who is out researching until 4 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. We'll stay going here for a little bit longer, but this is a travesty and this is something that shouldn't happen. So I'll probably put up a call to action here in a little bit to, I don't know, what do you think, Steve? To demand that come Monday we have an open and public feed for everyone to watch this fucking shit show on? Yeah. Because this is a goddamn travesty. Not that the UK is anything but a war criminal government cartel that is trying to slowly move itself away from another cartel of oil barons called the European Union. But there shouldn't be this level of starvation for the press, for non-governmental organizations to view this, or for the general public. There is, I believe, less than 10 seats in the public gallery for non-journalist observers, and I think it's 10 seats for journalists themselves. Let people take personal risk. Open the courts up. This is ridiculous that this is allowed to happen this way. And it's a travesty. And it's largely because people in the independent media and all around the world have just accepted full stop that we're all going to die if we go to court, or we're all going to die if we go to the grocery store to rant about something else. But
unless we wear a thin, porous piece of cotton, and then we're okay.
And then we're okay. And
because we live in a fucking cartoon.
And you could see it if you watch the interview with Ron and Taylor. Half of the questions that Ron asks are answered with, well, court restrictions because of COVID-19. That's a damn shame. It's a damn shame. Because this is the most important trial, and literally the world went into lockdown following the first round of Julian Assange's hearings and hasn't come out since. And it's just disappointing to see people not willing to push back against something as detrimental as the loss of freedom of association, which here in the United States runs hand in hand with freedom of the press. Because you can receive as much information as you want, but if you have no legal ability to act on it because of limitations on assembly, what the hell does it matter if you learn the truth if you can't do anything about it? So I would like to put out to reiterate what the defend.wikileaks has put out about decentralized action. It's something that we've talked about all the way since the beginning for 62 weeks now, and that's doing what you can with the time and money that you have. Being the one person to go out, hand out flyers, put up posters, and inform your community about the shit show that's going on right now in the UK. Because there's a lot that people are inundated by, and being the person that says, hey, this is also happening and this matters is important. And whether it's you going to city council meetings or you going to a telephone pole to spread this message to your community, it makes a big difference to have you there being that one person that does it. Anything, Steve?
No, that was just.
Do you find it ironic that this is the first day that there was 2 live streams set up for court coverage and that COVID-19 just happened to happen after Lewis got too fucking hammered? According to me, no actual evidence on there to find his way home to actually cover this. Like, do you find that ironic?
I mean, it's damn near an Alanis Morissette song at this point.
I don't know what that means.
See, Alanis Morissette was a musician in the 90s who also played God in the movie Dogma.
I love that movie.
She had a song called Ironic, and she went through and named all of these things that were, in fact, ironic, and people loved her for it, I guess.
Is the good Kevin still happening with us?
I don't know. I don't even know why we're still on
Because we're self-deprecating individuals.
right now. We could let Josh go to sleep.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
We'll check back in with you later. We've definitely got a couple of things we can go live with today. I would like to think that I would be able to get a short live stream in from my phone. Or
Nope.
there's Kevin.
Hey, I guess we're not ending, guys.
Yeah. Or maybe that's Kevin. I don't know.
Hey, it's Kevin.
Hey. We can't see you, my friend.
Oh, well, let me,
We're just
Turn
gonna
this
have to
on.
call you Lewis.
yeah, you could just call me James Lewis because I don't know how to operate technology.
Do you have a laptop charger, or do you need me to run it to you from the other side of the country?
Yeah, no, my papers are in the courtroom, and I'm sleeping in one of my 10 flats that I have because I'm a bourgeois.
Cocaine
I'm a bourgeois lawyer who just hops around parts of London. Okay. How do I get this on?
Worst case, we can still hear you, so we can go from there.
Well, I don't know what's going on here.
Try
I
just
just-
closing out and coming back.
What browser are
Okay.
you in?
I'm gonna go make some more coffee. I think
There should
maybe it wasn't a bad idea to just bring the fucking coffee maker out here.
no, it wasn't.
No.
Hey, what browser are you using?
I've got a Firefox browser.
That usually works.
Let me.
Although the last few versions of Firefox have been absolutely garbage. There we
There
go.
it is.
Okay. I was gonna say I've been using this to join the court.
So I would like to say that we're officially more technologically adept than the entirety of the UK government.
Right.
How are you doing today, buddy?
I mean, I
appreciate-
can't tell you how many minutes of my life in the last week have been spent. I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you see me? I can see you. Can you see me? I can see you. Can you hear me? I was just like, oh.
Man, all you guys look tired as shit.
Yeah. Hey, man, I really do just want to say, though, I appreciate your dedication to covering all this.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
Your live tweets and everything have been essential for keeping us up to date. Your court update videos after all of this have been essential. We literally have about 8 pages of notes
Oh, nice.
from going through the videos that you put out, just to make sure that we were fully up to date when we did our update yesterday. So big thank you to you and Mo and everyone else who's dedicated literally their entire life for the next insert period of time covering this case.
Well, look, are you live right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, thanks. It's been quite a week. I certainly haven't expected half of what's happened. Including the fact that we're now on possible hiatus for COVID until who knows when.
So do you think that the court should demand that these lawyers be in permanent self-isolation until this is over to avoid any kind of incidents like this?
Well, I will note that what is a constant here when we hear of these outbreaks has been that it's people in the U.S. government or who have like a relation to the U.S. government who seem to be incapable of keeping themselves from spreading this. I mean, I recall the Trump administration stories and all of this, and I don't know what they're doing that the defense isn't doing, but the defense clearly doesn't have this problem. This is coming from the prosecution. So in some way, I think that there needs to be steps taken because the prosecutors are making it hard for this case to move forward. And so any of their demands to the judge about what should happen next, I don't think they need to be the people making the demands. I think it should be up to the defense and maybe court personnel as to how much they really want prosecutors in the Old Bailey.
The irony that the prosecution wanted the name of the junior prosecutor,
Mrs. Dobbins.
Dobbins,
Yeah.
who had been exposed to this, held out of the press after they waged a almost war against the defense team to out Stella Morris. It is not lost on me. It really isn't. Like, it's just unmitigated hypocrisy, or I guess just the state trying to fucking drop its balls on everybody.
I
Yeah.
would call it an assumption of superiority, where the prosecution just thinks when they say something, the court should bow down to it.
Yeah. Well, I will say that the standard in the United States has not been to withhold names when it's suspected that they have COVID-19. We've had many, many media headlines that said, oh, so-and-so has got a COVID-19 test. And I don't think it's a negative thing. I don't know why we have this idea that, on one hand, it could be that they did something wrong. On the other hand, I've not thought that people getting the virus means that you're necessarily a bad person. So I don't know, unless she was doing something they weren't supposed to do, why should we have to keep it private?
I'm a little more cynical. I think that you see the failure of Lewis to actually be prepared for today. And that's, I don't want to say that this woman's a liar or that her husband's a liar, but it's super convenient to go COVID-19 when the prosecution has no idea what the fuck they're doing. They're not in court. They don't have their laptop charger. They don't have their notes. So COVID-19 is the smallest portion about why the prosecution wanted to shut it down, in my opinion. And it's a really easy flag to wave to buy some time for the fuckwits. Because I would love to be in a flat sleeping in London right now. I think that's
I'm going to go to my flat and sleep.
Right.
I'll say, because this is going to be posted, and it's just nice to create a record that I did post the name. It was out for 3 or 4 minutes by my account. I ended up removing it just on the basis that I would like to maintain my remote video access, and that was something that the court said. And but let's just be clear, I know it, and if it becomes like a big thing as far as, okay, the court isn't protecting Julian Assange, and people should know that this prosecutor is responsible for, you know, any risks to him, I won't hesitate to share it, because I think it will be in the public interest. But I also can see wanting to know for sure whether there's a test. Now, the idea of like whether they're using COVID to cover for the fact that they're not prepared for today, I mean, I don't know a whole lot about this guy that was supposed to be called today. His name's Eric Lewis, but apparently he's got a theory about why the Trump administration is pursuing this, and I haven't been able to dig into it. I was looking forward to Eric Lewis's testimony, but it goes. I mean, I'm not sure that they really wanted to delay the proceedings. They've been using this guy Eric Lewis as a way of undermining all of the defense's witnesses. It's been pretty crude, because they've been showing like things that he said and saying, well, you read his testimony, so you must agree with everything that he said. And again, I just think that that's really odd, because that's not like every defense witness is testifying on something different. So I don't know, like, this isn't a hive mind thing. Like, that's what the prosecutors are. They're like a hive. Everyone thinks the same on the prosecution team. All these defense witnesses are different people coming at this case from different places.
Do you think that the defense is going to have to bring some witnesses forward to talk about the error that was brought forward in the June 24th superseding indictment, specifically around potential functions with Anonymous and things like that? Like, do you think that they have witnesses prepared to talk about that right now?
They don't. That was why they wanted the adjournment till January. And so, you know, since it's like 5 a.m. in the morning, and I like to go places that I wouldn't normally go when we have these discussions, I'll just say that there's a line in my head from one of my favorite movies, about Clerks, where they talk about we shouldn't even be here today.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had that in my head all week. Every time anything goes wrong, I'm just like, we shouldn't even be here today, because this case shouldn't even be happening. We can talk about COVID, but really we wouldn't have to worry about a COVID-19 outbreak in this case if there just wasn't a prosecution of Julian Assange.
I like that.
And we wouldn't have to deal with remote observer. I mean, this, in retrospect, with this happening, it makes it even more fucked up that 40 observers were told that they couldn't have video access, and you lost Amnesty International as a representative. You lost other human rights organizations. You lost.
We
Go
have
ahead.
Rebecca. Oh, let's see.
We had Rebecca Vincent on the vigil on Saturday, and that morning we had gotten an email from Her Majesty's Prison, like customer service investigations, and they were thanking us for the call to action that we had put out to just badger the fuck out of people to get a cloud video feed. And you had a campaign of your own that you led on this. And I think that like multiple different people coming from multiple different directions
Do you want to read it?
applying pressure onto them allowed it to happen. So to have Baratzer just not arbitrarily take it away, but dismiss it outright as if it was some kind of offense to her.
She said it was a court administration error. She threw everyone who were the staff at the Old Bailey under the bus. It's just like, it's your fault. I think no.
Well,
I think they were doing what they were supposed to do.
The little people had it in their heads that they had a job to do and not orders to follow, and we can't have that.
So we've continued the public pressure campaign. I'm going to be rewriting it and putting it back out. We put up what we called our second warning, which was when the first day of trials happened. It was hard for everyone to get in. The people got the NGOs and okay. I'm sorry. And then the parliamentarians and NGOs got thrown out. And then I believe it was Fitzgerald, the first witness, couldn't even connect. He was having issues getting in. Once he was in, he was
Yeah.
having issues continuing his testimony to the point that it got delayed and pushed the hearings back. So at this point,
Yeah.
we're going to lose Thursday, Friday, half of Monday, and half of Tuesday because of technical issues. So this case has already been delayed 4 days in a 5-day week.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's incredible that this is allowed to happen, and it's happening silently because
Yeah.
he was on with Garland Nixon yesterday, and in real time, CNN wasn't covering anything about Julian's case.
Like Garland was pulling up CNN's website for the week and seeing absolutely nothing about this case on it. And as much as that doesn't surprise me, it still horrifies me. You know what I mean?
Well, the New York Times, I want to say that the New York Times is just using the wires. They don't have their own reporter. I haven't seen, I mean, I'm not sure that there's a Guardian reporter that's been covering this. There might have been somebody it might have been picked up and republished, but I haven't seen a reporter. Nobody's been joining remotely. If there's one at the courthouse, I don't know who that person is.
And the other travesty is you're not seeing the independent media cover this properly either. There are people, individuals like yourself. Ron Placone had our friend Taylor Hudak on for over an hour yesterday talking about the case.
That's great.
Sorry, Snee's having a sneezing fit. But overall, you're not seeing even the independent media cover this, where I'm seeing headlines pop through about Kamala Harris on the third day of Julian's trial. Like, who gives a fuck about horse race politics? This is the fundamental principle of speech that we're losing. So is there anything you would like to say to the independent media right now?
Well, first, I don't know if you know my personal story, but I was interviewed for BBC Radio on one of their early morning programs around 4 a.m. And I don't remember the host's name. Unfortunately, it's not important. But he asked me this question, and I thought he was just making a mistake. He said, "Oh, right. You mentioned those allegations. I heard there were like 18 new allegations against Julian Assange, 18 criminal." And I kind of did a double take, and then I said, "No, there's not 18 allegations. There's just the fact that they added more criminal evidence, supposed, evidence in quotes. They put alleged criminal evidence into the indictment that wasn't there before, but it's the same charges." And he goes, "Oh, okay." And then we just went on and finished the interview. And then I come to find that Sky News, in this big headline, no correction issued that I am familiar, said Julian Assange faces 18 new allegations in this fresh indictment. And it's like, who is this? Who are these people that are following this court who have absolutely no idea what is happening at all? Because like, I understood what was going on, and other people who don't cover it as extensively as I do understood it. But then this schmuck or whatever at the Sky News is like, and people are getting misinformed about it. And, like, I don't see how it's useful for, I agree with you. Like, there's a lot of people out there who are writing stuff, and I'm not sure that they know what's happening in this case. I still think people do not understand what is going on with the fresh extradition request. So, since we're in this holding pattern and killing time, maybe it's worth it to just say in like a minute here that for people who are confused by what's going on with this latest fresh extradition request, there's on June 24th, you have the press release from the prosecutor that says there's going to be a new extradition request or a new indictment. And then in July, I don't have the exact date, but in July, the defense actually got a copy of it. But Julian Assange still doesn't know what is going to be added to it. He has no notice. And then at some point in July into August, the court finally is brought on board with what is happening with all of this. And then you have a fresh extradition request in middle of August, so to where, then that kicked off this thing where he has to be rearrested. He has to be rearraigned. That's why we opened the proceedings by him saying, he was asked, do you concede to extradition? He says, I do not concede. And then that's where we had the argument in the beginning of Monday over what was put into this new extradition request, because it does fundamentally change the extent of the prosecution. It's no longer only about Chelsea Manning. So now anybody on that legal team has to go research LulzSec, has to go research Anonymous, has to go research what all of these alleged hacks were, these alleged cyber attacks. Or, and I don't know that we should call them cyber attacks because we don't even know who the people were involved and whether these really were attacks. They could be completely fabricated or hyped by the US government. I'm not familiar with these yet. So even as a reporter, I have to go do a lot of research to catch up on what these allegations are. I just don't know.
Documentary We Are Legion.
It's on the DEA playlist.
Yeah, okay. And I've seen that, but is that, I know they were talking about the Iceland bank.
That's definitely part of it with Siggy's testimony.
Yeah.
Sigurd Thordarson. But they also include testimony from Hector Monsignor, who was the FBI informant that put together LulzSec, had already flipped and was already a working for the FBI when he recruited Jeremy Hammond and when he recruited the other alleged members of LulzSec. And there's an extended version of We Are Legion where when they go into Sabu's story, they say this date in 2012, LulzSec hacks Stratfor, and then they scratch it out and they say FBI hacks Stratfor, because within 48 hours after the Stratfor hacks, all of that data was on FBI servers. So honestly, the case could be made that the FBI orchestrated LulzSec as a way to trap Julian Assange.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you know anything about WikiLeaks at all, and it's for the people in the audience, there's a huge wall of separation between the publishing outlet itself and anyone who is doing alleged hacking. But that's not the case that the U.S. State Department is trying to make. In fact, in the superseding indictment, it's alluded to that somehow Julian Assange is the mastermind behind Anonymous. And the thing that concerns me even more than the FBI relying on the testimony of, two paid informants is the way that they've expanded the charges against Sarah Harrison and everyone involved in getting Ed Snowden out of Hong Kong, and the opening up of possible criminal charges for her and everyone that was involved in that. That's incredibly worrying to me.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
Well, at the same time, real quick, there's this campaign going around saying pardon Edward Snowden, which is being used as the new I love the WikiLeaks. Just to being charged and indicted. Just to add the detail on Steve's statement.
You broke up a little bit there. I didn't get the last thing you said.
Oh, I was just saying that while there's this whole pardon Snowden thing going on, Sarah Harrison is potentially facing further pressure, whether it's charges or indictments or what have you. So it's just really strange to see that happening at the same time as the case that's going to allow for the people that helped him to be prosecuted.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. That's a good point. It was just that when we had Monday's proceedings, the last thing I'll say is that apparently this was how the defense described it. So, the prosecution is raising the fact that police vehicles may have been tracked. They're raising this issue of directing a hack, maybe targeting a cybersecurity company. This is how the defense read it. So, obviously I could probably figure out what the specifics were, but I'm just saying that they they suggested that there were U.S. state government computers that were targeted, and maybe they were going after that Assange had gone after classified information in those state government computers. That there was retaliation against the television documentary. I think they're referring to WikiSecrets, but I'm not sure, because I remember how that was terrible. And the U.S. State Police Association computers, or actually, it's not WikiSecrets. Was WikiSecrets the PBS Frontline documentary? I remember that was a huge deal back in 2011. It was in like the immediate months after the cables started coming out. So, anyways, this is all things that were not part of the case. This is the most important point. And now you have to put legal people on it and prepare. But the prosecution is ready. I mean, obviously, they put it in their indictment, so they've got evidence that they're going to use. And the defense has to be able to challenge and show that this isn't criminal activity.
So do you know at what point, because I believe there's a 60-day window for where the prosecution can tack on additional indictments to the new extradition request. Do you know if that 60-day window started back in August when the extradition request became an official thing, or did it start when Julian officially became rearrested under the new extradition request?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm a little fuzzy on what's going on because I'm not sure that a process has been followed. I mean, according to the defense, they shouldn't be able to do this, but they have. So I'm not like at this point, and it's not just so at this point, and it's not me being cynical. At this point, I would say that whatever the prosecutors want to do, they're going to be able to do. So if they want to tack on charges to this against Julian Assange, they can do it. If they want to have a fourth fresh extradition request, they're going to do it. I just don't see this judge stopping the prosecutors from, manipulating their case in whatever way they want to do. It's just not evident to me. I mean, the only time that I've seen her like challenge the prosecutor in my recent memory is when he went over his time yesterday that was allotted for the witness. Like, so that's the most that we're getting out of her as far as controlling her courtroom.
There was that, and there was one other moment when, and I believe you even commented on this, where Lewis was trying to disallow testimony that concerned the Pentagon Papers.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And Baratzer told him, well, you opened the door for it in your line of questioning, so because you are responsible for this, I'm going to allow it. And that's such a minor consideration that's just barely adhering to the tenets of the law. And for us to view that as, some sort of gift from the judge in this case shows the extent of her behavior and attitude so far.
Yeah, but he was pretty livid yesterday when he was told that his time was up. I have to say, as someone who's watched him closely, because he occupies so much space in my video frame, too much. I'd like him to remove himself sometimes so that I didn't have to see him. But seriously though, like, he was very angry that he was being told, and his response to the court was basically that, well, if you're going to tell me that I only have an hour of time with a witness, then I'm going to suggest that maybe we change the amount of the time limits that you're giving. He wanted to change everything about how they're cross-examining witnesses. I mean, it seems to me that, like, what we would call it in the U.S. is that he would like to filibuster the Assange legal team so that they don't get to put on much of a case, and because the prosecutor has won this one victory, which is convincing the judge that they shouldn't read witness statements when they come to the stand. So in these proceedings that are happening for press, the press has to actually go find the physical document from these witnesses that are taking the stand, because they're not talking about all the details in their witness statement, and they're not reading anything to the court. They just sit there, and the defense picks, they're given like 20 minutes to pick their favorite highlights from the statement. And then they have to turn it over to the prosecutor, who gets an hour of time to pick all of that apart. So it's we're mostly, I think mostly we're getting the prosecutors' objections to the Assange legal team in the past week, but we're not really. You have to really focus and search for what the defense is trying to do, because there's so much prosecution noise.
And it's really the prosecution and the U.S. State Department that are running this case, because we had, as far back before February, the prosecution meeting with the judge and other concierges from the State Department meeting with the judge, and then she goes and walks back and takes the podium. So this whole thing should just be thrown out. For the UK viewers here in the US, as Steve puts it so wonderfully, this would be a hanging judge. Vanessa Baraitster is someone that the internet knows absolutely nothing about. There is no history on her. There is no anything. It's very hard to even find pictures of her that exist.
There is that one video of her singing. Didn't Craig Murray put that out?
Yes, he did.
God bless that man.
Do you, real quick, while we have you, if you have a second, do you know the latest information and what's up to date with Craig Murray? If not, it's okay. I'm gonna do a.
No, I'm not totally familiar. I know I am aware that he was not credentialed and was trying to get into the court. So we can't see the public gallery. I don't know where they're being asked to sit. I've seen people that I recognize in the court. I don't know the layout of this room. It's a much smaller room, but what's interesting, I'll let you get back to Craig Murray if you want, but I will say what's interesting is that this room seems to be so much smaller compared to where it was held in February in Woolwich, that actually Julian can hear the proceedings now, I think, because he's not that far back in the room. And I think the acoustics are actually better. Again, I'm not saying that he shouldn't be allowed out of the glass box, but it's just, I can tell when I'm looking at the courtroom that it seems to work much better than the other room for Julian.
So this is funny real quick though, because for the last hour that Andrew and I have been on, Kathy Bogan from CN Live has been messaging me with updates that CN Live is putting out. And she just messaged me that Joe Laurie is going to go live to talk about this soon. So I got to be like, we're on with Kevin Gosztola right now, and we've been live for about an hour. Kathy, you guys are slacking.
It's been almost 2 hours at this point. We're at an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah, you guys are getting punchy. So
well,
no, wait. I think you were like that before we started, probably, right?
No, I was. I've actually calmed it down a little bit.
The only reason that Andrew isn't shirtless and screaming is because he knows I'll choke him out.
All right. Well, I'm gonna have to go, but I'll drop back. But I'll drop back in later on. I got some more interviews that I'm going to be doing today, and I'm glad you guys are doing this, holding down. So you're in DC?
Yeah, we're in DC right now.
We're gonna yesterday we were at the British Embassy. Today we're marching from the CNN building to Google to Fox News. We're hitting major mainstream media outlets each week that we're here to stand in front of them and scream at them. And then tomorrow we'll be at the Australian Embassy, making as much noise as we possibly can. We interrupted tea time at the British Embassy yesterday, and they complained.
Oh,
and the officer, right? So to their credit, the officer told the British when they complained about the noise, that's why they're here. It's a protest. So even Secret Service now is trash talking these people for their uppityness while our free speech is getting killed. So that was one of those little
moments of irony that makes it worth it.
Yeah.
We'll let you get out of here, Kevin, but thank you so much for popping in and joining us. And for the three people who may not know where to find your work, will you go ahead and shout that out and shout out Shadowproof, please?
Yeah, so I've got a day 4 thread that may or may not have been put in an official court document to ban me from covering the future proceedings of the Julian Assange case. I'm just kidding. But they're very sensitive over there about naming the attorneys and officials who are covering or who are involved in this proceeding. So you can go to shadowproof.com. You can also go to Twitter at @KGastola and find my daily update threads. So again, thanks guys, and happy to come back as more happens in the case, but obviously we're on hiatus now. I'll talk to you all later.
We'll catch up with you next week for sure. This will be pretty unique in terms of media coverage of this. I don't think anybody else is necessarily doing what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
I think the DEA campaign actually has still a live stream up, and I think they were going to do pretty similar to the same thing that we are now. So I look forward to that. But
yeah, and I'll just leave you with the serious image of, I have this Orwellian, or I guess Orwellian is not a good word, it's just appropriate for this case because of how absurd it's all been, as well as repressive, that I can see this. For some reason, I have this future in my head that Julian's going to be hauled into court every day going forward if there is this COVID-19 shutdown, and that we're going to have prosecutors on the video, we're going to have defense attorneys on the video, and Julian's going to be in the back of the room with only Baretzer and someone working on a computer who's a court technician. And
his monitors up.
Yeah.
Show the faces of the.
Yeah. He's going to be looking at screens, and it's going to be, I want somebody who's a sketch artist to get that down.
Right.
Right. That to me is that image of Julian in the glass box with just the judge and nobody else, no public allowed in, he can't even, how does he consult his defense attorneys? Like, that's the future I have in my head right now. So I leave everyone with that image.
This has been Dystopia Today with Kevin Gastola.
That's my future RT television show that's going to go into all Senate and congressional reports.
Thanks so much, Kevin.
Bye.
We really appreciate it.
Bye.
And just real quick, because we're probably about to wrap up here, because I'm going to try to see if I can sneak in another hour of sleep.
I've had 3 cups of coffee. That's not happening for me.
I mean, I've had one in a Red Bull, but I can sleep. Court, this is breaking as of 40 minutes ago. Court is postponed until Monday due to Miss Dobbins. I'll remember that for next time, because Miss Dobbins' husband may or may not have contacted COVID-19. So that's on top of Lewis not being prepared, not having his papers, not having his laptop charger, not being able to connect with the UK court system properly to be able to see or hear.
Covered in cocaine and hooker blood.
But I would like to thank everyone for tuning in to the Free Assange Vigil this early in the morning. You can find us on Twitter at action_4Assange. You can find find all of our calls to action at actionforassange.com. Thank you for tuning in, everybody.
Yeah, we'll catch up with you guys soon. Just to let you know, at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, we are most likely going to be on the combo couch. Taylor Hudak, my little sister, should be joining us at some point today or tonight or something for her take on all of this. There's more. We'll be doing more interviews over the next few days with a handful of independent media that give a shit about the world's biggest press freedom trial. So yeah, pay attention to the calls of action. Take part in them. We did get some movement from the Her Majesty's prison system. We can do that again. We've already proven that we can win, so there's no reason to let up on any of this pressure. Again, if you're in DC, 12 o'clock noon, CNN building, Myself and Kendra Christian will be in Baltimore for a couple hours passing out food with Reverend Annie Chambers. So if you're around Baltimore, come down for that. Ian Schlackman will be there as well. And again, I can't thank the people who donated to the GoFundMe enough. You guys made all of this possible, and we love you. We will see you later today. Good luck to us all.